to include the group of my Facebook friends on live. So we'll get to them in just a minute, but we wanted to talk amongst ourselves here. How does that sound? Sounds good to me. All right. So STEM, and especially women in STEM, this is something that, again, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and it has been making significant strides, breaking barriers and reshaping the landscape of these fields. Their contributions range from pioneering groundbreaking research to leading innovative projects that impact our world. And there was a movie that came out a couple of years ago, Hidden Figures. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see that movie, but I'm sure there are so many of us who have. I see Dr. Shauna shaking her head. Dr. Shauna, do you mind jumping in here and telling us about your thoughts on women in STEM, but more specifically, the movie Hidden Figures? What are your thoughts about the movie Hidden Figures and its impact on women?
Well, it was a while ago when it did come out. I did go see it. It was an awesome movie. It was really empowering to see a woman of color in the background that played such an important role that is now getting attention and acknowledgement. Because I mean, really, that program would not have been possible had that lady or that team, that young lady, headed up that whole operation. So that was something that really is empowering and uplifting, because you don't see that often. So that's something that I really feel that young women, especially young women who are maybe not understanding their self-worth, not knowing who they are, not knowing the horizons they can go past and move beyond that. I think that's a really good role to look to. It was a really strong, profound movie. I liked it.
Thank you. And so now you're inspiring me to go watch. There's so many movies out, and try to catch them maybe after the crowd. But this sounds like something that I would need to take a look at. Anyone else? Has anyone else seen the movie Hidden Figures? And again, this has been out for about 4 or 5 years, maybe longer than that.
Yeah, I saw it several times. It's a very good movie, very educational. So I thought it was a great movie, and the stars did a fantastic job portraying the real history.
Very good. Thank you very much. Now, there's some women that we know of who are pretty well-known women in STEM, right? So we know of Marie Curie, who was the pioneer physicist and chemist who won Nobel Peace Prizes. We also know of Jane Goodall. She was a conservatist. And we also know of Sally Ride, and she was the first American woman in space, right? But then there are some other women that are little known, right? That deserve just as much attention as the ones that we know so much of. So we have Mary Anning. She was a self-taught paleontologist who made key fossil discoveries in Jurassic marine life. There's also a Barbara McClinton. She was a geneticist who won the Nobel Peace Prize in physiology or medicine for her work in terms of jumping genes. And let's see, there's a whole list of them, so I'm just trying to pop out a few, but let's take a listen to a few of the African-American women. And I know that Black History Month may have just been in February, but honey, it's all year long for us, right? Okay, so we also know of Mae Jemison. She was the first African-American woman to travel in space. She's also a physicist and an engineer, right? All right. How about Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson? That's a distant cousin of mine that I'm just claiming right this very moment. I'm sure she probably don't know me, but somewhere along the line, I know that we have some connections, right? She is a theoretical physicist. She became the first woman to earn a doctorate from MIT, and she had a distinguished career in academia as well as public service. And then there's this one other that I would like to share, and this is Dr. Patricia Bath. I just really heard of her a couple of years back. I'm not sure exactly how, but I kind of stumbled upon some of her works on Instagram. And she was an ophthalmologist and inventor. She pioneered the laser cataract surgery and she co-founded the American Institute for the Prevention of Blindness. So these women have broken barriers that pave the way for future generations in STEM. All right, so I would like for us to give a round of applause to those women, a round of applause to those women for their works, right? Can you tell me what? Because Dr. Shauna, she brought up a great point that just seeing these women can be inspirational for others. Can we think of maybe some potential barriers that interfere or may interrupt women from wanting to go into the sciences or the technology, the engineering, or the mathematics?
I have a fellow doctoral friend who is actually a doctor as well, and she did her dissertation on the hidden curriculum. Basically, in colleges, universities, the things that we are not told as African Americans, things that we are not, that is not shared with us, that actually is shared with privilege, the dominant privilege group. Those can be barriers that keep us out of certain programs and discouraged from entering into programs because we just don't know. So I'm actually going to call her and see if I can get her to come on because I think she would enjoy this.
I think so too. And you know what? So let me just let you know a little bit about how we do things in Sofa Chat, right? I'm a teacher by trade. So
Okay.
I always like to start off our conversations with just a little bit of education. And then our conversations, our talks just kind of meander however they flow. And I think that would be a great idea if she's able to jump on with us so that we can hear from her about her perspective on the hidden curriculum. Because man, the way you just worded it, these are things that you know, but
Yes.
just don't really know how to word it. The hidden curriculum. Uh, Dr. Shauna just brought out hidden curriculum. Anybody want to jump in on that? Brother Hatem, did you hear what Dr. Shauna said about that in our colleges and universities, there's this thing known, I get maybe not necessarily known, but there's this thing of hidden curriculum. What are your thoughts, Brother Hatem? We can't hear you.
I tried something new. Just in oh, okay, my fault.
We
They can hear
can't hear you.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm glad you said that. Okay, so here's
She's
another
coming.
little. Okay, good, good. Here's another little hidden gem while we're waiting on Dr. Kelso to join us. Here's another little hidden gem, right? So my daughter, she graduated from a very prestigious HBCU, all girls college, Spelman College, right? What I did not know, and it's not necessarily just at Spelman College, it's at any college. I did not know, and this is a piece of hidden information. I did not know that if you go to college and you are within one semester or 2 quarters, I'm not sure if they're still on quarter systems, but if you're within one semester or 2 quarters and you want to transfer to another college, you can do that. I said that because there are several people who say you want to get a degree from Spelman College or Morehouse College or Ohio State or any of these colleges. You can go to your local college or university or whatever. You can go there, and in that last quarter,
It's about
you
the
can.
hidden curriculum.
I'm sorry. And in that last quarter or semester rather, you can get your degree and you can say, hey, I got a degree from The Ohio State University. You may have gone to Midlands Technical College for all of those 3 years and 3 quarters or 3 semesters, and then you just have this last one. So that's something that, I mean, it might not make a difference to anybody, but it was mind blowing to me because I'm like, man, that's a whole huge money saver, right? Like you could save money, you know, having gone to a other or not, I don't want to say lesser college. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Community college.
Community college, yes, yes. So that's a savings right there, and I'm all about savings. All right, we have a guest, Dr. Kelso, and we're so glad to have you. We're so glad to have every one of you here tonight. So, Dr. Kelso, hello.
Shell, turn your mic on. You're on mute.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. Yeah, depending on where you are right now, I kind of got pulled into this. I'm not quite sure where everyone is, but good to see you guys.
We're glad to see you. We're glad to see you. So thank you for joining us here on our Sofa Chat. Our conversation tonight and throughout the month of March is about women's history. And so tonight, one of our topic for tonight is women in STEM. And as I mentioned to Dr. Shauna, how our conversations go is that we start the first few minutes or so with education, because I'm a teacher at heart, and so we start with information, and then from there our conversation kind of meanders and carries on because there's so much richness in other people's comments, and I don't want it to always seem like I'm a lecturer, so I'll just give a little bit of information and then let's talk and have our way, right? So tonight we're talking about women in STEM, right? And Dr. Shauna was like, hey, I got this great friend, she has to come on. Can you share with us who you are and your thoughts about women in STEM and even the hidden curriculum within, say, the school systems, the higher educational systems that people might not necessarily know?
Yeah. So I'm glad you pulled me in here. Thanks. Dr. Barnett is my best friend. Yes. And I teach at a few places. So just to give you a little background, I work for the Department of Defense during the day. I am an upper level manager there. I've been there for over 22 years. I currently also am an instructor through Hampton University, their MBA online program. I teach through them. I also teach for OSU Newark, COTC, like Shauna, Dr. Barnett here. And I teach accounting, managerial finance, and auditing and taxation. And I also teach for American Military University, and I teach business classes there and government contracting and budget to execution. So I did my dissertation on the hidden curriculum, and how it affects the African American students in predominantly white institutions. So that is what my dissertation was about. And when it comes to obviously STEM programs, we're underrepresented as we are with a lot of things, right? It is a lot of things that we don't know from the beginning as African American students that hinder us from succeeding and graduating. When we get into these programs, because we are minority, we don't know about the hidden curriculum, right? We don't know the things that the other people may already know. One of the things that came up in my research was a lot of people did not know that there were tests available to them that the other students knew about. The African American students just weren't aware that they were out there. They weren't aware that some of the other students, I had some people on my actual board, like my actual that I interviewed for the research that said, and then we took one, let's take one lady who went to OSU, right?
Right.
And she was studying to be a vet. And she said she was literally flunking until one of the white students said, hey, here's a test. And I've had these like all and she had no idea that they were having these tests, right? So she spoke up about that. Yeah. There were language barriers at times where our African American students didn't quite understand everything that was being said to them during class. Um, there was obviously a lot of um, expectations with regards to the African American student. We were expected to behave a certain way, and therefore we were treated a certain way. That came up a lot during my research. And these are in the STEM. You were talking about STEM, and when you're one of few in a medical class, I went to school to be a nurse, so I forgot about that. I was an RN when I was younger, 22, 23, 24, 25 years old. And I went to OSU on a minority scholarship. But I really caught it trying to make it through because I was 18 and I got in there and I was on a minority scholarship. I was an honor student. I graduated magna cum laude or whatever from high school. And I got in and I was like, what is this? Like, I really don't know what's going on. And then they threw me into sports. Well, sort of sports. I was a Scarlet Stepper, Ohio State Scarlet Stepper. And so I had to battle that. I wanted to pledge a sorority. I couldn't do that because I didn't know what I was doing with my curriculum, right? So I didn't have a mentor. Mentorship is a big thing. Mentorship is huge. Having someone who wants you to succeed and will help you and has been through this process, that absolutely was a big help for me. And I found that on my research as well. But that was really a big thing. I see a difference between HBCUs and PWIs and their commitment to see African American students succeed. And I could not even believe, I just got an email last week when I was at Hampton that we had 204 students that did not sign back up. And we called all 205, I think it was 205 students that did not sign up for the next quarter. We called all 205 students and got 204 students to re-register. So when I say it is hard, our African American students really need someone who cares. They need somebody who cares about them, who will share these secrets, these hidden curriculum, these things that they don't know. I mean, it even comes down to their living quarters. It comes down to them being not used to their surroundings, thrown into this particular environment that they know nothing about. They need someone to help them. And there's so many things like in the hidden curriculum that they don't know. That goes for STEM, that goes for, any of the areas. And on a PWI, there's just no really, I mean, I'm not going to say they're not, there's no focus on us. So there was a lot that I learned about the hidden curriculum and during that research, and was in tears at times, was very, and Dr. Barnett can tell you, I would call her and I would just be like, I can't believe this is happening. And what is this, right? So just really a heart to help our people, our young generation, our old generation, doesn't matter who, get through and do what we were meant to do. I mean, we just need help. So that's kind of, that's my background. That's, the stuff that I've done. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Dr. Kelso. My hats go off to you figuratively for your commitment to our children, and your commitment to the education, and then uncovering those pieces of information that's hidden, that has prevented us, that have been roadblocks, that have been barriers for us and our children, getting into these places, getting into those positions that they needed. I would love for you to come back. I know, we kind of don't leave. In other words, please don't, and come back because we need you. We need.
I knew you would like it. I knew it.
Yes, and I love you. So, Brother Hatim has a question, and it's not just for women, although this conversation is for women's history, but not just for women. Brother Hatim has a question, and I know that he has a great point, especially about the Ohio State University. Brother Hatim.
We found out about the test, but I want to be clear. When you say that you was talking first about the hidden test, where are you talking about the files that certain fraternities and sororities at Ohio State will have for the younger people that's coming through so that they can review the test, or was this something else?
Yeah, it was something else. It was, so like I said, the young lady was in vet school and she was Black, and she was, and then time frame also took effect, right? So she's around my age. She's a little older. She's probably about 60, right? So she was in her class and she was going through one of her medical classes, right? For being a vet. And I don't know which one she said, I can't remember. But she said she was failing the class. And all of a sudden, she buddied up with one of the white students in the class and got to know them, and they became friends like over a couple weeks. And she said that her friend, she said, "Hey, here are some tests for the class. I have these." And she said she pulled out a stack of tests that had already been, and even though the tests weren't exactly what the instructor was given right away, it definitely had the questions. They were just in different order, maybe a little differently phrased. But she couldn't figure out why this young lady was getting all of the A's in class. And the young lady, the white young lady said, "Hey, here are the tests that I study from." And she was like, "What tests are you talking about?" Like, you know, I didn't know there were tests that you study from, because no one, I know I didn't study from any tests when I were in there. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I went to OSU, there were no tests. I didn't know. I just took the test point blank, right? But she was telling me,
Us as well, because that's what I was talking about. There,
mhm,
like certain groups maintain files for certain classes.
yes,
There's certain
yes,
core classes where they
yes,
have files where they have been
hmm
storing them over for years, especially for those teachers that are what they have at tenure. They've been there. They don't.
tenure
They don't
track, yep,
exactly. They got all of that stuff, and they got it piled up to so that when you're going through Econ 303 or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? They already got the information for you so that you can be like, all right, cool. This might not be the exact test, but it's gonna look like
right. But
this.
it's
It's
similar.
gonna work like
hmm
this.
Well,
It's gonna be
I
very
had the
similar.
same thing. I had
So
the
hmm
same thing with our comprehensive exam before you're actually past that, your doctoral stuff.
hmm
I had a
hmm
person come to me, hand me a copy of a comps exam. Of course, it wasn't the exact wording like he said, but it was a copy of the comp exam. Like, where did you get this from? How do you even have this? And it was a white person, but they had it.
and
hmm
what stops us a lot of times, I didn't necessarily participate in that because I didn't know the legalities and I wasn't trying to do nothing
Right.
that you see what I'm saying?
hmm
Even though I
hmm
could see a bunch of people around me doing certain things I wouldn't do because I didn't have the complexion for the protection. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So,
I'm gonna
and
get
I
called
didn't,
out.
you know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
that's all I needed was I'm on scholarship. All I needed is for somebody to be like, he cheating.
Yep.
hmm
You know what I'm
And
saying? But
that
I,
did
I didn't
happen.
know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that did happen to one of my research participants. He got in a class and he scored 100 on the test. Now he didn't have a test, like, he didn't study, but they did accuse him of cheating because of his skin color. So,
Mm,
yeah.
wow. That
Yeah.
is so unfortunate. And I'll disclose, I knew nothing about what you are saying until I got into my doctorate program. So every class I had taken, bachelor's, master's, whatever,
You did it on your own.
I've
Yeah.
studied my behind
Yeah.
off. Like I studied and didn't know. Now, one experience, right? Because Ohio State is a PWI.
Right.
There was a student that had graduated high school with me, non-black, and she was at Ohio State too. And I was struggling my freshman year. My freshman year was like 2 years because I didn't know, how to
Yeah.
meander. So my freshman year was like 2 years. And I go to her and I'm like, hey, listen, I'm struggling in this class. What should I do? She told me, she said, you should go to the professor and tell him, hey, you're on scholarship, and tell him, say, I'm on scholarship and I need to get an A out of here to maintain. I trusted her. I went straight to that professor and I told him them words. He read me like a book. He said, for
Uh,
future, dot, 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 but for future references, it is not your place to go tell a professor exactly what grade you need in order to get out of this class. And it doesn't matter that you're on scholarship. You need to study.
They're not going
Baby,
to do
when
that.
I
Yeah, they're not going to do that for
but
us.
the fact that she even
Mm-mm.
told you that lets you know that someone has told them that and they got
That's
what they
right.
needed.
hmm That's right.
okay, okay.
They do. They do. They get special. Just like, I talk about and this is kind of off track a little bit, but for us trying to get positions within colleges and universities is you've got to be in there, you know, to be able to, you've got to be in there. Like they'll promote, give you, for example, I'm in accounting. They took my lead just last month and put him in a director's position over something he doesn't even know about, right? Doesn't even know about. It's like engineering or something, right? He said, I have no clue. He's telling the students, he's like, you know more than I do because I don't, right? Took him out of accounting. He has a CPA, left me there and another young lady as adjuncts, but then opened up a position for a full-time professor in accounting, but never let us know. We don't get opportunities. They don't. You put him in a whole position that he doesn't even know about. We struggle so hard as Black people to even be treated equally. Like you said, that chick can go up and say, hey, I need to get an A out of here, because they try it with me as a professor. They'll send me an email and say, look, I need this class, I need this grade. Have you had that happen, Dr. Barnett? I need this grade for a class, right?
Every
And if
class.
I don't get this grade, then and I look at him, I said, well, if you do the work, you're gonna get the grade. I don't
I'm
know
telling you,
who
you
you
got the
think
wrong
I
one
am,
this
but
semester.
huh?
You gonna work for this one. I said you got the wrong
Yeah,
one
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
semester.
You're not getting ready to, I'm not clear. So I need you to work like I did, because there's no test for my class. I have government contract, the one that I'm telling you about. You actually need to know what you're doing to do that.
Right,
So no, I'm not gonna just give you an A. Yeah,
right,
no.
right.
Hmm.
Brother Hatem, you have a question?
No, I just got a comment. That's what some of the stuff we miss as a group. That's called generational wealth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because basically they're passing information is where the real value, you know what I'm saying? They're passing on valuable information and they're building a network. Because like the way I found out about it was during college, I smoked a lot of weed and I stayed in the towers as a
at
freshman.
OSU. At
Yes.
OSU.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those white boys like to smoke weed. So we sitting around
Hmm.
smoking weed, and I'm finding out that they're studying for tests and they got tests. And I'm sitting up here, where you get that from? Well, my brother plays this, so I'm on my way into this organization. And I'm sitting up here, I said, these motherfuckers got tests. What in
That's
the
why they could smoke weed and didn't have
oh
to
my
study, because they
God.
had them.
Listen. You know what I'm saying? They would do the same thing and be out as late and miss as many classes, but still be able to walk up in and you like, oh, they're brilliant. No, no, they just
No,
got that
no.
generational wealth. They have
Hmm.
they got the connections. And people get mad at me because I be telling my folks, I tell my young people, I say, listen, in 20 years, I want us to be running this city
Yeah.
because this is the way our competition think. You know what I'm saying? They want to continue running the city. I want to move them out. I said, we in Columbus, there's no reason why we cannot be controlling everything in Columbus. I'm sitting up here. I got over 1,000 students. By 2020, I will have touched about 1,000 of y'all lives. There's no reason why we cannot be controlling something. There's no reason why you can't be working in a university. There's no reason why you can't be a mayor. There's no reason why you can't be a city council. You be on the board and trying to get our young people as well as some of the elders to think like this, because we'll get into those positions and rather than trying to help each other, we'll make it harder for other people. As a
We
matter of
do.
fact, we'll
Yeah.
say shit like, they got to get it like I got it. I have a situation where I have an individual who is doing great work but don't have a degree, but everybody around him is telling him that he need to get a degree when he has built the position that he has.
That
How in the
doesn't make sense.
yeah, but for to how can I put it? But it don't make sense to them, but it makes perfect sense to those who have struggled through and went and got their degree. And this dude is able to do what he do without a degree, and it's okay for them to be able to look at him and be like, "Oh, well, you need a degree, nigga. I'm
He
making
doesn't
much.
need a
I'm
degree. He doesn't need a degree. He's innately smart. He's innately. That's what he is. He just everybody. School is not for everybody, and everybody's brain
exactly."
doesn't think.
And that's where we at. See, because we believe that we have to be certified by them.
No, no, and that's what you're right. It's their world, so we have to go through their processes
But
and
when you
then become
build
certified.
something, we still maintain that we got to be able to play their game. No, we don't. If you have built your own thing and you're able to manage it and you're able to run it, why do you need to go and get their degree when you're running something? And I had this argument all the time. And it's once again, it's that generational wealth because we
Even if he
see them
gets it,
do
they're
it
not
all the
going to treat him
time.
fairly. Even if they
What?
get it, if he gets it, they're not going to treat him fairly.
There
You
you
know,
go.
it's, yeah. I
Or
mean,
he will lose it trying to get the degree.
there you go. There you go. There you go. Yeah, there you go.
How you
And
gonna have a full-time life where you are in charge of employees and running a business and yet go and pursue a goddamn degree?
it's hard. You can't, it's hard. And you know what? Um,
I'm sorry.
I in my studies, you know what was most interesting was everyone, I took people from different walks of life, right? So I took people at different ages. Some of my participants were 18 years old. Some of my participants were late 20s, 30s, late 40s. I had a man on my board who is 70. I'm sorry, he's 80. He's 80 now, but he was 78 then. So I took all of this from all of these people from different age groups. And you know, we all experienced the same thing that that man who is 80 years old experienced, the hidden curriculum, you know, being told that we needed to do this. I mean, it has not changed. That it was my revelation from the whole study was that the things that everybody in every age group, this 18-year-old, this 28-year-old, this 30-something years old, this 40-year, everybody up to the 80-year-old man who had it hard, who lived in the times where we didn't even have opportunity, right? Even the opportunities we supposedly have right now, we are still going through the same things he went through. So I was like, you've got to be kidding me right now. So I had a bunch of mixed emotions because I was just like, there's something wrong. Something, and it's not being corrected.
Well,
Either it's being corrected so slow, it's at a slow pace. Like it's just not being corrected.
and I was gonna, and thank you both for all of you for sharing this information. I think, Dr. K, that what is missing is conversations like this. This is mind blowing, right? Where I'm telling my story, he's telling his story, she's telling her story, and now we're all sitting around talking about it, and we see this thread, right? We see the thread. That is the, in my mind, that is what that's what's needed, right? For the conversations to be had, for me to be like, well, you know what? And I was, and then she says, oh, well, you know what? And then now we could come, now we're talking, right? We're talking about what it is and now how we can come up with solutions for this, how we can make it better moving forward. I so
Mm-hmm.
appreciate what you said about, HBCUs. I didn't go to a HBCU. My children went, my children's dad, my uncles,
Mm-hmm.
my cousins, everyone else went to college, went to a HBCU because that was what was available for them. But
Right.
I've been around HBCUs for 30 years, like intricately, involved in the lives of students there at HBCUs. And you're exactly right. At HBCUs, they care, right? They care for you. They will call you. I've
Yes.
been in conversations where people are like, wait a minute, my professor is calling me. I have, this person that I have to be accountable to, or this person is checking on me. I have a mentor now. At Ohio State, there was a program, a mentorship program that
Yeah.
was for the African American students. And I tell you, my life has been enriched because of it, because I didn't know anything. All I knew was getting out the mud. That's all I ever
Mm-hmm.
knew. All I ever
Mm-hmm.
knew was working hard, grassroots, digging and
Yep.
doing the best that
Yep.
I can, praying, hoping that things will
Mm-hmm.
work out. And as a matter of fact, y'all, it took me 7 years to complete this doctorate degree that I have.
Me
Most
too.
people, it's supposed to take 3 years, or
Yeah.
no,
No.
excuse me, maybe 4 years. It took me
Mm-hmm.
7 years because, and I was embarrassed. I've been embarrassed until this very minute because I didn't ever really want to say. So I would use the excuse of, well, I had kids. Well, it's true. I did have children and I had to raise my children. But the fact was that I wasn't privy to these things that you're talking about. These things were taking place when I was in the program. And what was so crazy is there were students in the program who did not speak English, and we would be taking tests, and 10 minutes at the end, 10 minutes into the test, they were done. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm struggling. I'm over here sweating, trying to put my name on the paper. Like, my nerves are so bad. I mean, like, what in the world? And they were done. You don't speak English, but you done with the test, and then you done blew the curve out. Like, how do you do this? There's some hidden pieces that we don't know about because we're supposed to, we're supposed to know, we're supposed to walk righteously, but then who
Here's
really
the
is?
thing. You do not be ashamed because, Dr. Barnett, like I said, she's my best friend and she was in a different program. We were in the same program. I started before her. She started after me and she ended up going through a month earlier, graduating 90, but I started way before her, right? Now, at my school, which was a PWI, they did not want me to graduate. My color, right? I had no idea it was hidden, right? Where Dr. Barnett went, they were okay. Like she had a really good chair, got her through, answered right away, no matter what time she called. Mine would wait a month. I had to send documentation up to the dean that she did not answer me my whole class. She wouldn't answer my question. She was married to a black man. She was a white woman. She's married to a black man. She wouldn't answer any questions I had. I sat there and waited. Well, I'm on break. It's school break. I'm not answering your questions. It's this. I'm not this. All this was a hidden curriculum. It took me so long to make it. I have half of mine sometimes to go back. You know that thing where they say you can wipe out all your school debt because the school was trying to get money off you or
I
whatever.
didn't know. No, you
Yeah,
got to explain that.
yeah,
Shit,
there's
what?
something, and I don't know the details of it, but it's
What?
it's something where if you went through school and you can prove that they were keeping you in the school, right, just to make money, and you could tell clearly from mine that they were like she wasn't answering, she wasn't trying to answer me. I had to literally at the end tell her, "Chick, drop my proposal. Would you drop this in so that the SME can see it? I need you to drop this now." Miss Barnett, Dr. Barnett, remember this. I was like,
Listen,
yeah, I
I
was
was
like,
I was I was pushing Dr. Kelso because she was ready to just give up. I'm like, no, 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 no.
yeah,
You come too far.
yeah,
There's no
because I was
stopping.
at the
We're gonna
end.
we're gonna if we have to go there, you're gonna get this.
Yeah, I was at the end because I was like, I can't keep, I fought literally for almost 8 years every single week to have this lady look at my dissertation, to look at my chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4. I mean, like, she was not had no intent on passing me, none. I guarantee she didn't. I had to take it all the way up to the dean of the school. I called him every week. This is hidden stuff. Shauna would laugh, and Dr. Barnett would laugh at me because I was like, I talked to Dr. Pucci today because Dr. Pucci, I would be on Dr. Pucci on, hey, I'm on speed dial. I was like, I ain't got no answer here, Dr. Pucci. I'm gonna need you to hit your girl, like, and finally got to know him so that he would help push me through. And when he saw it, he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," because he knew. Because I did put in the email, I said, after all this happened, I said, Black lives do matter. You might not want me to take all this evidence up and put this out on the street because y'all really have not done me right, and you haven't. And I was like, I'm not, because he was like, no, you're going to have to get a DBA. You're not going to have your PhD. You're going to have to get a DBA. It's taking you too long to get through.
That ain't what
And
I
I was
signed up
like,
for.
your girl is the one that's taking too long for me to get through. And
What's a
me,
DBA?
a DBA is a doctor of like business. It's not your
Not a
original work. You
PhD.
build your work upon someone else's work. A
Okay.
PhD is original. You made this, you talked about,
You're
you did this
expanding.
research yourself, you've done, no one else has done it. And that's what mine was. No one had done it on the hidden curriculum is specific to STEM schools. If you look through the history, they talk to STEM students and things like that. But I focused on African American students as a whole. So no one had done that before. They were not trying to let my black butt through that school. They were not. So I ended up having to go to the dean and tell him this is going on. She's not answering. And as a government contractor all my life, I've been told to document everything that goes on. So
Right.
I had files and files and screenshots and conversations and text messages and voicemails. And I had all of that where she just never answered, ever answered me for months at a time. She wouldn't answer me when I was in school. I'm begging. I would go over her head to the SME. Are you in the building with her? Can you please tell her to look at my stuff?
Mm,
Would not do it.
mm, Lord,
And no help. I mean, Dr. Jax, you
yeah.
revealed that it took you 7 years. Well, I'll tell you, when I went to Ohio State, you say Ohio State, I was in a
Mhm.
pre-med program or on my way. I actually ended up dropping out with a 1.9 grade point average.
Did you
No
go to school with
help.
me?
Huh?
Did you go to school with
I ended up leaving on academic probation of 1.9
me?
average
God.
because I could not get any help. And and to be fair and be honest, it was science classes that were killing me. And
Yeah.
if you
Mhm.
go to Ohio State, you already know the ratio of who's
Mhm.
in there and the curves that they have. I mean, you might as well, when you walk in the door and you see what you see, you might as well just drop the class right then.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
So, and that was
Unless,
devastating to me. Like I talked about with Hidden Figures, how it's empowering to see other women in these positions where they were able to go through and prevail and do good. They're role models. I didn't have a role model at that time doing that. So it was devastating to me. It took me years to even get my spirits back up to even go back to school.
right,
You know what I
right.
mean? And that was for my bachelor's.
But that's the plan. That's the overall plan. One of the things, one of my elders, Dr. Kelsey, he always talk about how he was looking at Asian students. Some either he was or
Mhm.
he was looking at the Asian student. Like Steph was talking about the people that would come in and would not even speak the language. They study different. They study as a group. They do collaborations. We are taught we got to do everything. Like you said, we got to get it out the mud. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? We ain't never been like that. But when we try to operate within their world, we are. This is what's crazy. We might be the only group following the rules that they set. Everybody else is doing.
Right.
Everybody else is doing something different. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I wouldn't get the test because I mean, after smoking weed with somebody for a little while, they would give you what I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? Let me go. I go and get my C. I squeezed through with a C, and I did it myself. And then on top of that, we don't study together. We'll get together and we'll party together. We'll drink together. We'll try to do double dates or whatever. But we never sit down and actually have study sessions where we all say, "All right, cool. Um, well, all of us got to take this math class. Let's all get in this math class together and motivate and push each other through and help each other through. Because when we study together, it makes learning easier and in many ways can make it funner. And then on top of that, you learn better because now you might be able to help somebody you might, because when you teach something, you become a little bit better, right? But that's how other groups do it. We trying to do it all by ourselves. College is not an individual sport. I'm just gonna say that, especially undergrad. I learned that it's not an individual sport.
That's crazy. That is so crazy that you said that. We have one person here online who was talking when we were talking about the other piece. They said that it's not just in work in the academic world. It's also in the work world as well. Just to your point, Dr. K, it's also in the work world. And she said that those rules are for us. It's to contain us. This right here, this conversations like this is enriching. It takes us farther. It moves the needle farther. This is what helps to elevate us. And since I am admitting truths here tonight, that it took me 7 years because there were so many loopholes. I was the oldest student. There was one. I was the oldest Black student in the program. I was 44 when I started. I was 50
Mhm.
when I finished. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm thankful and so thankful to God that I was able to finish. But I just don't think it took that long. And you talk about people who didn't want you to make it, like they did not want me to make it. It was to the point where, like, I remember one time, this teacher, I had to take her class 4 times. How the hell, why is you taking this one with the same teacher? Like, I'm a teacher, right, by trade.
Mhm.
Initially, if a student is in your class and they fail, then if there's another teacher teaching the same course, they're given the opportunity. Typically, they're given the opportunity to take that course with someone else because it could be a mismatch. It could be a mismatch in teacher or whatever. This one same teacher, I had to take her class 4 times.
Mhm.
And one time, and I had to take labs and all of this stuff. And one time, you know, I had to sit and wait for her to grade mine. And then she came back and said, "Oh, you didn't pass. See you next quarter." I
Mm.
completely lost it. I
Yeah,
completely lost it.
lose it. Mm-hmm.
I
Lose it.
completely lost it. I'm sitting there like my daughter's out there in the because my daughter was waiting for me. She's outside in the lobby. I'm in the professor's office, and I'm bawling. I'm crying. And then I lost it. I told her, I said, and I used a few Sunday school words that
Mm-hmm.
I may not share with you all right now. I'll share with you the nicer Sunday school words. But I told her, I was like, y'all teachers here are y'all are the worst teachers I've ever, and I'm a student. I've been in school since I was 3. I said, y'all
Yeah.
are the worst teachers I've ever seen in my entire life. How are these students expected to pay back $250,000 in loans to get this if y'all don't let them pass? You can't work at Burger King and pay off no bleeping loan for a $250,000 loan, all because y'all are not letting these students pass because you don't want to, because you mad. Like, why is power put in your hands and not in somebody else's? Why is our lives designed or created around what it is that you say or you want, or people who think like you, who look like you, who act like you? Like, why is my life in your hands? I'm like with Brother Hatim, no, it shouldn't have to be that way. But there are things that we need to know within our culture. There are passes that we need to give one another, in other words, to support one another. Yes, it may have taken me 7 years to finish, but I guarantee you, when I start teaching on the professional level, the college level, it's not like I'm going to give grades away, but I'm going to show grace. I'm going to show
Yeah.
mercy. I'm going to try to understand where
Or
the student is coming from and their
Mm-hmm.
story. Now, you're not about to give me no, line. And then another point, it was like I was practically begging my non-English speaking classmates, can you help me or whatever. I used to carry, I kid you not, I am going to write a whole bleeping book about this. I used to carry with me every day because I couldn't afford to care for my kids and buy lunch at these fancy, restaurants that all the rest of the undergraduate students, the graduate students were at. So I would pack my lunch every day, and I would carry an extra bag of oranges, and I would share these oranges with anybody. Like, here, would you like some oranges? Here, would you like some oranges? And they would be sitting there eating them oranges, and they'd be like, well, and they would may help. So my book would probably be how oranges helped me to become a doctor, because that's all I would do. I would carry bags and bags of oranges, and have them sliced up and everything. Here, would you like some oranges? Here, would you like some oranges? They'd be sitting right there eating the oranges. These oranges good. Hell yeah, they good. Now help me with this damn test.
So you know what, Dr. Jackson, let's take it a step further, like the young lady who mentioned work.
Yeah.
Same standards at work. Now you mentioned $250,000 in loans, and
mm-hmm.
you have to graduate. You got $250,000 in loans, but even after you graduate, what job?
Right.
There are gatekeepers who have the jobs, and you can't even make the payment for the loan that you have.
That's right.
So this is forcing all of us to go out and try to make it on your own.
Yep.
Which is why we need stuff like this, where we can band together and at least network and resources and things like that, because they're not offering us the opportunities to make those dollars, because they're gatekeeping and giving it to their friends who have no knowledge of the positions that they're getting.
Or the degrees.
Or
a
degree. I've seen it that they passed on.
Exactly.
We're intimidating to them.
Yeah.
Okay. You're in the office area, and you're in a boardroom, and you're giving your point of view on something. You're all of a sudden labeled the angry Black woman. I'm not angry. I just don't agree with what you're saying. So they label that angry Black woman thing, and you're blackballed, and you're not able to get any further than where you are, all because they're intimidated by who you are, your skin color, what you're doing, and what you could accomplish. So the jobs dictate where you live, what kind of car you drive, what you're eating, what kind of clothes you put on, based on the pay that they give you.
Because it's a little bit deeper than just the intimidation. It's an actual fear piece, because if
it's jealousy.
you get in, it's a possibility you're gonna bring more in, right? And eventually take over. I do. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, I want to say this about the loans. The loans were never designed for you to pay back any damn way.
No, they aren't. That's part of the hidden curriculum as well.
You know what I'm saying? Because really, when it comes down to it, how can I put it? Because we don't have access to wealth, not just information. We got information. We don't have access to the wealth where our grandparents or our parents were able to help us. Many of us made it through on a wing and a prayer. You know what I'm saying? So now, not only did we have to deal with the academic aspect of school, we had to deal with the money aspect of going to school, which is a whole nother level. I mean, living at Ohio State was a whole nother level of issue for me because how can I put it? Not living on campus, not having my food prepared, not knowing exactly where I would be all the time, took away study time. Even though
Mhm.
I wouldn't have used the studying anyway. I'm just gonna be honest. But you know, but once again, that's developing the networks. That's learning how to develop networks, developing like especially accountability networks where people can hold you accountable. That's why the fraternities and sororities, I believe, are real good for that type of thing if they are
Mhm.
right, because you got some that's just, but you know what I'm saying? But that having that network, because institutions, because the white kids that's getting the test, they're not getting it from individuals. They're getting them from institutions that have been at their school for a very long time. And not only have
Right.
they been there, because the ones that used to get the papers that I'm talking about, those of you that have been to Ohio State, it's a certain street right across from it's a street that you go down and you got all of the fraternity and sorority houses, right? You know, ain't no black fraternities or sororities on that damn
No, they're
street.
not. No, no.
And those
Mm-mm.
houses are old and $1 million houses, and they got files, years and years of files. They know the classes that you need to take. They have the mentorship to help guide you through. They got individuals that's in their fraternities and sororities that's working at that place where they could guide you in a way that will make it possible for you to graduate in 4 years. Because I didn't graduate in 4 years, as far as just a bachelor's. Y'all talking about after I did my bachelor's, I was done. Because I said, oh man, all this is a game. All this is a money grab and it's a game. And it's like, man, please, I'm done.
And
Brother Hot,
I tell you something else. There's and I'm sorry, I think someone else was getting ready to talk as well. Um, but I tell you something else. There's places online that you can put your class in, and it will bring up tests that people have put in to like places like Course Hero, or it'll bring up your tests, bring up your class and all the tests, and have the answers to the test.
You write that down.
yes, I
Yeah,
was. I
Yes.
more
did.
than one. There's more than one.
There's a
There's
lot
a
of them out there. They pay
yeah,
for them.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So there, you they can go out there and get the answers. I'm like, what the? So
And you can tell when they turn it in, where they're getting that stuff from.
yeah,
When they turn their stuff in.
Guess who getting paid for that?
yes,
The
yes,
organizations we talking about. You
getting
said,
paid.
so I'm gonna shut up.
Or would you be? I know that I'm not hearing you imply, Brother Hatem, that there are factions that are higher than just the students that that have their hand in helping the students.
That's
Yes.
it. 30.
You see, because now what they understand, and we're coming into the understanding of, they understand that the next generation are the earners and the controllers of the country. So I am mentoring. I am, like, for example, I just had a funeral for one of my brothers, and I said all of the young people that are in my organization, those of you, boom, 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 there's certain ones that need to come up. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. And I could tell them right there, I need you to do that. I don't want to I ain't ask you what you want to do. This is what you're going to do. Now, just imagine if you're able to do that in life. You about to run for city council. I ain't ask you what you want to do. I'm telling you what you're going to do. See, we don't look at it like that no more. It's like, oh, everybody could be free. Do what you want. Our people don't need that. You know what I'm saying? We don't need that. You know what I'm saying? There's only so many rappers we could really need to tolerate. And all of us, everybody in here probably got a 50-year-old rapper in your life right now. And then you don't want to tell them to give up their dream. You understand what I'm saying? I want you to dream. I want you to have that freedom. But dog, at 35, You know what I'm saying? You should have did something
Right.
else. You know what I'm saying? But the point I'm saying is that yes, I am saying they are conspiring to protect what they have and to build their future. And I say it's time for us to start doing the same.
Wow. Whoa. I'm blown away by this conversation. I really am, because these are the threads that these are the missing pieces that I needed to hear personally. So I'm taking this for me. This conversation is for me. I take it in, and I'm so thankful for everyone who contributed to this to help me with these pieces. There's some people on the call here who we haven't heard from. Anybody here on the call who we haven't heard from that would like to say something before we go?
Oh, this is Mike Williams. I'm just saying it's a great discussion. Very educational. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mike Williams. And Mike Williams, he went to a HBCU and has been working in corporate manufacturing for I think that's corporate manufacturing for like over 40 years, and he is soon to be retiring. And I am sure that he can share with us as being the one and only African American man at his work or within his company. Brother Mike, do you mind just giving us a little piece?
Yes. Well, thank you. Just briefly tell you, yeah, I've been in manufacturing for 42 years. Next year will be 43, but I plan to retire this year. But 42 years in manufacturing in the supply chain side of it, with purchasing and materials management. When I started out, yes, you're right. I was the only black for a very long time, and being on some of the boards. Uh, I've experienced that we never ever had more than two African Americans in the board at one time, and that's just by their design. That they don't want you to have too many, because too many creates power, and that's that playbook that they will make sure that you can't have too many of the same color to other than white, but and that's something you experience all the time. So. But yes, it's I agree with everything that was said tonight, that it's we need to do something different. Like High Temp said, we need to do something different and change the narrative so that our young folks have a chance.
Yeah.
And you're right, generational wealth is important, that we have to do that so we can uh, what I always tell people, even from day one, we need to have multiple seats at the table. And that table is the table of making pertinent decisions about this country and our communities.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that,
You're
brother.
welcome. Oh, you're welcome.
Brother Quasi, I see that you.
Yeah, I've just been listening and enjoying the conversation. I wanted to mention, I work in community organizing and like political consulting. And a few years ago, I made a post on Facebook, and I was a little angry on Facebook rant. But I called out, and this probably wasn't the best on my behalf, but I called out some politicians, and black politicians in the city. I could have went about it a different way, given that they are black. But my perspective was and is that they were gatekeepers, and that Columbus has a lot of black elected officials, but a lot of segregation was ranked as the what is it the most economically segregated city in America a few years ago. And
Still is. I read it somewhere the other day.
yeah, so that presence of gay, and I actually called out some people by name, and a few of them got upset with me. And I want to shout out Cheryl, County Secretary Cheryl Brooks Sullivan, or Cheryl Brooks, and she kind of came to my defense, and just showed appreciation for the fact that I called people out, and just appreciating the fact that I was willing to say that. And an unpopular perspective, maybe among the elite, and something that was probably at my own personal risk. And and I've always kind of been willing to do that. Just hearing another thing that I want to say is just hearing everybody's conversation. I graduated from Ohio State in 2016. I was let me see, do a little math, 33, 34, something like that. Got my bachelor's degree at like 34 years old or something like that. And I dropped out of high school my junior year, and I struggled through my experience at Ohio State. I think I graduated with like a 2.4 or something like that. But on the flip side, when I was in elementary school and throughout grammar school or whatever, when we had those standardized tests, I would always score within like 98 or 99 percentile, better than 98 or 99% of all the people that took those tests. And then I struggled at Ohio State getting my bachelor's degree. And even talking to some of my professors, they would say I had a master's uh, mentality, a master's program mentality. The way that I think wasn't like entry level. And I don't know. Dr. Kelso, I heard you say how you just had that inclination, or maybe even the you were schooled to be a heavy note taker. That's something that I've never really done. And when I
Mm-hmm.
think about the amount of discrimination and the deck being stacked against me throughout my life, um, and even like I was diagnosed with ADHD as a child, but then I took the assessment as an adult, and I was found to have adult ADHD. But in that assessment, I was found to have an IQ that's in like the 98 or 99 percentile. And uh, that's like my reality. And it's kind of a struggle. On one hand, I find myself a lot of times just trying to fit in. So I'm not trying to like sound smart or whatever. But when I'm thinking about, and also like, I have a way of just kind of having an intuitive understanding of a lot of things. Um, but I also have a love for people, when I think about just kind of the role that I was ordained with in life. It was like to be in support of people and advance humanity. And I happen to be in this beautiful brown skin, you know what I mean, that is kind of ostracized by the white world. I have been, my availability to give my gift to humanity has been limited. So a lot of times when I think about like when Black people are being held systematically held back, it's literally holding back all of humanity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, he made some really good points. Quasi, you did. I have a child that's in that situation. I had a child in my later life, because I'm in my 50s. Um, and he's ADHD, but very, very smart child. And, I was told even in third grade that he's a smart child, but, maybe we should put him on medicine because he's ADHD. I refused to.
I was gonna
Um,
say, mm-mm.
yeah, I refuse to. I let that little guy run around the yard and burn that off and then come back in and he's fine.
Right.
So you can go and being a prior nurse, I don't condone any of that. Just that doesn't mean I'm an expert. I'm not a doctor, but I'm just saying I homeopathic and natural is my way that I go. So you're not going to tell me. I'm going to research it and I'm going to look at it. And as you stated, I am a documenter and it helps. And I'm a researcher and that helps. But had I not had those things and not always have been that way from the time I was small, like you, Dr. Jax, I've been in school since I was 3 years old. Like I was in preschool and everything else. Um, it's just really important. I think out of this whole thing that I hear is that us connecting and us helping each other is going to be the key to us succeeding. What the other, our other, our counterpart, our white counterparts have done is as, am I saying your name right, Hatim? Um, that they have secured their generation through holding things and caring about their generation going forward. They kept these tests because they wanted them to maintain their position. We don't do that. We, like you said, look at each other, struggle, and laugh about it, and want to see, we're like crabs in a barrel, want to see who's can get on top first and look down at the others. And we should not be that way. My heart was to teach for an HBCU. I begged to teach for Hampton. I contacted the deans. I went further and said, hey, I had the president of the university know who I was because he worked at DSCC as the commander. So when he saw me, he was like, I want her on, at Hampton. But you know what? It took me reaching out, like, I want to work for HBCU. I was like, I don't care what HBCU it is, I'm gonna need to give back to my people. So that is where my heart is. I knew that because of the struggles I had, because of the struggles my best friend Dr. Barnett had, because the struggles I see my students have in my classes. I've been teaching since 2000 in college level, 2014. So just to see all of the struggles that the people have, that our people have. I see our people in my class. I can tell by their names. I know white people can. I can tell by their names sometimes if they don't put their picture on there that they're black, right? And I know they can look at us because it's part of the hidden curriculum. They look at our names. They know when we're black or not.
Mhm.
Even we're online before I walk in class. My last name used to be Vandermolen. They thought I was white. I walk into class, they thought a white person was I walk in. I'm like, no, I'm Michelle Vandermolen. And before that, so, I mean, they know. But when I see them, I reach out. Hey, how you doing? You doing all right? Is there anything you need in this class? I'll email them. Like right now, I just emailed somebody with 7 o'clock Sunday night. They'll probably get it tomorrow. Sometimes they answer right now. I deal with students all over the world. But what I'm saying is, for our people, I want to make sure they don't fail my classes.
Mhm.
I want to make sure if they need something, if I see you don't turn an assignment in, I'm gonna email you. Where you
Mhm.
at? Where
Do
am
the
I?
same thing
Call you. Yeah.
like that.
Where you on vacation? What you doing? I'm I care about you succeeding.
I'm here to
So
reach out
yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah.
Hmm.
And that mindset I was glad to run into at the HBCU because they do that, but they didn't at the PWIs. I do it because I'm one of very few professors that are black at a couple of my universities. Yeah. So it's about us caring. We got to have our heart in the right place to take care of all of our people, our older generation that just start, like me and you, Dr. Jackson, ended our PhD at the end, and our younger generation that just starts. I have 4 children. I tell them all, don't you get up in college and act like you don't have a mother that doesn't know that she can't help you and who will find other people to help you.
All
I have one
right.
that's going to school to be a nurse. I'm like, I need you to find somebody that is in there that's your skin color that is willing to help you make it through there because only a person of our skin color is going to know what our struggles were,
Right.
Come
not
on.
unless they read about it, right?
Right.
And then reading about it is not going through it.
Nope.
So I can tell you how I felt when I had to fight. And like I said, Miss Barnett can, Dr. Barnett can attest to it. When I had to fight every week, literally in tears, because they were not hearing. I had to make them hear me. I had to fight. My husband was telling me, don't you give up. Dr. Barnett was telling me, don't you give up. I had a man who make it through that school who was black. And I reached out to him and he worked with me. And he said, continue. He said, keep charging. He said, do not stop. I don't care what they do to you.
Oh, we was
Don't
gonna pull
stop.
up. We
Yeah.
wasn't no stopping.
Yeah, because she could tell you I was in tears. Like I have hit every place I can. And I was at the end, like almost done. Like in
Mhm.
chapter what, 5.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And they were still doing it. They fought me tooth and nail the whole way through. So to love our people, and that's what I get off of this phone call, all these people on here, to love our people, to love our children. God gave me 4 children. I'm blessed. God gave me other children outside of those children that come to me and ask me, Dr. Kelso, I want to be a nurse. Dr. Kelso, I want to do this. Well, let's find you somebody. Come on. And we go and we find somebody who has blazed that trail and can help them go through. But they can't do it. I don't want another me or you, Dr. Jacks, or you, Dr. Barnett, who we all struggling to get through school. Yeah, we're gonna struggle a little bit, but
Right.
should it be like this? No,
Mm-mm.
no, it shouldn't.
And
Not at all.
we also gotta remember that we're like the first generation of our families to go as far as we've had.
Even
Are.
to even graduate.
So that's another
Yeah.
whole aspect right there.
I was
That was in
talking to
my hidden curriculum too. Yep.
Dr. Kelso, can you include in the chat? I think I sent you a message about your contact information.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Yes,
Please,
I sure can.
please,
Mm-hmm.
please do. Oh, I'm sorry, Brother Quasi, were you going to say something or?
Yeah, I was talking to Dr. Shauna earlier, and we were just kind of having one of these conversations where it was kind of focused, but just like so many different things that all ties in, and just having a wonderful dialogue. And one of the things that I mentioned, because I'm still trying to figure out like what my contribution is. Like, I'm humbled and honored to be talking with people that are distinguished in their fields, and I'm sure that you all are also still searching out your even more focused contribution. But one of the things that I mentioned was that I'm a theorist. I theorize about a lot of things. I just kind of coined a term for myself. I'm like a historian, a theoretical historian. I like to just wonder about history and how things came about, because a lot of our history was intentionally discarded. So, in some senses, it's gone, it's lost, and it's even being lost in oral tradition. But I believe that, like, through imagination and through like looking at how things are and how things historically, the records that we do have, and just kind of wondering about what happened in between and even before. So like those Egyptian periods and some of the periods that are so prominent that you can't erase them because you got pyramids and stuff like that. And thinking about like Black people, it does seem, and also like tying this all in, like I was reading somewhere where they're, when we think about the founding, quote unquote, founding fathers of this country, that a lot of times they get associated with Christianity. But then when you read about it, they weren't necessarily Christians. They didn't advocate for Christianity. Probably, a lot of them were probably atheists. And Christianity, like I grew up in a Christian church. So as I grew up and I wasn't able to get the questions that I had answered, I became kind of anti. But the more that I grow and learn, I'm realizing how central God is in my understanding of things, and also how a lot of the ways that I probably would naturally want to think are distorted through this whole culturalization, or whatever you want to say, becoming an American and probably letting go of some of the inclinations of just my Africanness, which I want to associate with the collectivism. And it seems almost as if, and I say all of that to say, like, God doesn't make mistakes, that idea that God doesn't make mistakes. And it seems like we're going through things, and I find myself like being capable and gifted, I humbly say, but I've often found, well, really throughout my entire life, I found myself in a lot of ways like at the bottom of the barrel, but I've learned so many valuable things there. And over the last couple of years, I've found myself in like evolving circles. And now, like, the people that I interact with most are doctors, judges, and lawyers, and politicians, people seeking to get office, people that hold office. And I'm finding that they really value my perspective, and it freaks me out because for so long, like, people, I was kind of shunned. Nobody wanted to hear what I had to say because a lot of times what I was saying was challenging the status quo, So all of that to say, even on another level, it's like I've always imagined the way that we live as our American lives in this white man's imagination is upside down world. They took everything that was discovered and taught throughout African culture and history. Then they say that we come from kings and queens. I imagine that we probably got really comfortable at a certain point in time, and we got disconnected from the struggle, and or at least maybe our elites and our people that maybe were shaping society, and a part of our collective consciousness needed to get humble and experience the bottom of society and what it felt like to be at the bottom, so we could get that education and then rise above again, and I feel that moment. And now we're having this conversation, and we're appreciating each other and being this person that I am, or even the thoughtful, and I know a lot of people that have had a similar experience of not being appreciated for the gifts that they bring. But then a lot of people are in some uh, positions of authority that don't necessarily know how to function in those exalted positions. And like what Hatim was saying about the ability to just point and say, you do this, and you do this. And that coming from a person ideally with, dare I say, altruistic intentions, and actually putting people in positions where they could thrive, where they might not even realize that they want to thrive. They might want to be in a position that might look more appealing to them, but actually somebody with more a different level of wisdom might understand that being in this position might really bring out your gifts, even though it might not feel as exalted. Once you're doing that work, or once you're appointed to do work by somebody that has a higher perspective of the playing field, it puts potentially, I theorize that, as we continue to see this shift, we're going to start seeing people that have experienced the bottom start to be in more exalted, or quote unquote exalted, humble, everybody being in the role that they're designed to function in, and really kind of just balancing out the playing field.
So I got to comment to that. Poison, you bring up a lot of good points. My thing is, yes, we do have people who are wanting to maybe be in those exalted places, but you also got to realize we have suffered for so many years from generational trauma. And this is where I come in and I talk about the cognitive abilities and how people can turn things around. Because when you beat people down for so long, they feel that that's where they can't go any further than that. So you have to completely turn around their cognitive awareness and thinking and make them aware of what they are, their greatness. We're not at that point. So if you're continually listening to other people outside of your race tell you you're nothing, you're a product of the environment that they have created for you. They're the ones who set the standards. So you have to be the one to break that mold and break that generational trauma that you've had to move forward. You know what I mean? So no, they may not be aware of the stature that they can have that we once had, because we've been programmed to think that we're less. And even if you are in a position, you're afraid. Some people are afraid of success. Some people are afraid that they're going to come back, they're going to fall back down. Some people, I mean, it's a mind thing. Once you remove yourself from that stigma and from that negative awareness, there's no telling what you can do. But we need to get past that part.
I think it's I think it's interesting too how we're like in the whole podcasting era. Everybody wants a podcast now, and people want their voice heard. And typically, it's like a person doing an interview, and then, it might be one guest and one host. But I'm fascinated how this conversation is flowing so seamlessly, and everybody is having a voice, and everybody is kind of supporting each other. And there's like 10 people on the call, or yeah, there were 10 people. I think it's like 8 now, but I don't know how many people are watching because it's being bro. I forgot to share it on my social media. I'm gonna make sure I start doing that. But I'm even thinking about this model, people listening and hearing the cooperation of all of these different perspectives. Because when I got done saying what I was saying, I was like, that's kind of, I don't know if that exactly hit the spot where I was saying. And then Dr. Kelso got on and said something that filled in something where I felt like I forgot to say, or that I was missing. And it's like hearing.
What you doing? Jumping at the baby. Come on.
Oh, hearing minds come together. Like this is like the sweet spot right here. Is when like individuals don't have the answer. It's the collective consciousness that is able to, extract the most out of people and out of our collective thought processes.
I thank you for those words, Brother Kwesi. I mean, I appreciate hearing those words. And for me, this whole, what do we used to call them in college? Mindsets. It used to be, I forget the word. Was it mindset? This to me is like a mindset where, yes, we do have structure, and yes, it could be a whole lecture, but there's no need, because there are pertinent pieces of all of our lives that need to be told, that need to be shared. And we started talking about women in STEM. I feel complete in this conversation. I personally do feel complete because we have women and men who are either in STEM or associated with STEM or have had experiences based on some of the things that we've touched on. So I feel good in the flow. I feel great in the flow. I really, really do. So yes, please, Dr. Shauna, you're new. Dr. Kelso, you're new. This is your first time here. You know, how do they say it in church? Our doors stand on welcome hinges. I don't know. This is down south country talk here, but our doors stand on welcome hinges. You are more than welcome to please come and join. I feel rich. This for me. This is for me tonight. I feel like, man, I am a lot wiser, a lot smarter, and that I wasn't by myself, in the whole pursuing a degree, pursuing an advanced degree piece. I don't feel as bad. Yeah.
No,
All
you're not
right.
alone. I appreciate you having me.
I appreciate you coming. Please come back. We're here on Sundays at 7:00, and we're also here on Thursdays at 7:00 also. So I have your information. I will send you guys an email inviting you. And again, this whole month we're talking about women in women's history. So just know that this is what we're going to be talking about. And again, our conversations, they meander, but they're fruitful.
Well, I will mirror what Dr. Barnett said. It has been a pleasure to be thrown into this at the last minute. Over here
I'm always
bedtime.
dragging her into something.
Ever since we've been 19 years old, so
I love it.
Long time. So when she tells me to come, I come.
That's right.
But it was such a pleasure to be on the call, and always want to contribute it to this type of thing. Just happy to do so. So thank you for inviting me as well.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sister Cheryl. Cheryl had an anniversary. Cheryl had a whole bunch of wonderful things going on. We are so glad that you are here. Cheryl is our first person that joined our sofa chat almost 3 years ago, and she's been rocking with us ever since.
Yes, I made it back. I had a late visit and return I had to do. I've been doing kind of like late visits and returns. So that's why I've been MIA. But I've listened to all of this. And the man intrigued me when he said he called out the politicians and like the gatekeepers. They're not just in Columbus, they're everywhere. We as people seem to get in positions and get into places, and instead of bringing people along, bringing others along with us. We slam the door once we get there. So
that has been a truth. That has been a truth. It has been a truth. But I feel that things are changing, and I feel that things can change because conversations like this, and then us just, when we change the way we see things, the things we see begin to change. All we have to do is, all it is a shift, right? Yes. All it is a shift, a continuous, constant, consistent shift. Okay, so it is 8:30. I don't want to hold you guys much longer. We have Dr. Karasay. Do you have something that you'd like to add to us in our last minute? And we're so glad you're here. Twin Sarah Doc.
Hi, Twin, and hi, everybody. It was definitely an interesting conversation. I went to a HBCU. I went to Tuskegee, and so this wasn't my story. So I am glad that, first I would say that, it's unfortunate that, and I always hate to hear these kinds of stories. And I guess growing up in Tuskegee and being around certain things, it's not that I wasn't aware that these types of things were going on, but I never experienced it firsthand. But afterwards, you get more of an appreciation of the education that I received. Because I tell you, this was not at all my story. I mean, at Tuskegee, it was a family, but it was still hardcore. Whereas education was still number one. And because of who we are as a people, it was just ingrained in us that we had to be the best of the best of the best. It was not just okay to be able to compete. You had to be able to compete and then excel and then work for yourself. So we were taught all of those things. And even and the information, the access to information that you all talk about, I'll say this. It for one, we had the test. We had because those things were not that it was handed down, but it was just part of study material. So all of those things were just natural for me. And we had them from other universities, and we definitely had them from PWIs because our instructors were like, they were pro-Black especially. And they were like, if Auburn knows it, if the University of Alabama knows it, then you're going to know it. And you're going to know it in 2 languages. So, and that's just how Tuskegee was and still is. So, and then now it is, I think with us and the conversation certainly needs to change because none of these things are beyond our reach. It's not beyond our grasp. And the whole thing as far as the gatekeepers and I'm not trying to say that those things don't exist, but I'm trying to say that we are in a different era. And when we say those things, it sort of puts up a wall and a block for us to believe that it is elusive or it is somehow we can't reach it or obtain it. And that's not true. And I do recognize that because of who we are, it may be a little difficult, but we have the resource. And more importantly, we have access now. We have the internet. We are able to walk into spaces and go into spaces where we weren't before. We're able to have these types of conversations. And another thing that I enjoyed about Tuskegee is that we always had alumni to come back and teach us and then take us back out into corporate America where we had jobs and we worked up under other alumni. And that is what we need to do as a people as well. And we need to learn how to, and this is another thing that other cultures do with their kids, specifically white people. We don't teach our children how to access information at libraries. All of these tests and all of these information, they're in books in the libraries. This information is stored. It is a part of their history and the history of the university. This is how they actually get the grant money and the funding to show that this works and how they build upon it and grow the programs. They have to store this information so everyone has access to it. We just aren't taught these things. And so as we learn it, we have to teach other people and especially our children. And then we have to get out of this mentality that because the sororities and fraternities, because we also teach it or pass it amongst ourselves, that we are this elite society and this bourgeoisie. And that's not it, because that creates this elitist or this separatist mindset in the Black community. And we just need to get rid of that. We need to just negate all of that because it is not true. And again, having these conversations, teaching it to others and sharing it is what's going to help. And then letting other people know that everything that I have access to, not only am I willing to share it with you, but let you know that you are able to obtain it as well. There is nothing so special about me that even though we may take different routes, it is still available to you as well. So, I mean, again, this wasn't my experience, but I'm glad that you all are able to have this conversation. That's another reason why I just fight so hard to do the things that I do, because I hear things like this and it pisses me off. But again, I'm glad that you all are able to have these types of conversations.
We thank you, thank you, Dr. Karasay, Twin Star Doc, for your contribution in our sofa chat. One more person, Sarah Bobby. I think she might be. Well, you know what? What we're gonna do is, because it's after 8:30. What we're gonna do is we're gonna conclude for
Yes,
today.
I'm here. I was just
Okay,
on mute.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Bobby. We're going to go ahead and conclude for tonight. Did you have anything really quick that you wanted to share real quick? You got
Well,
a
the
minute?
only thing I wanted to share early on, but the thing was really true when she was I forget Dr. Kelso, I think, was talking about, tests, people having tests in school and everything. And I was in nursing school, and I would wonder how the girls could run up and down the dorm and go out every night, and I'm in a closet studying. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, the bottom line is that I want to say that, when we get our degrees, they're earned very much so versus other people who got theirs by getting tests
Mm-hmm.
and cheating. So I remember when I took my first nursing clinical, and it was supposed to be the hardest teacher in the whole program, Dr. Cleveland. And I made a C, and I was devastated because I never really, made a C in college in my sciences and math. And she was really proud of me. She said, you really work very hard. And she told me, she said, all the time, you don't have to get an A. She said, sometimes a C can be your A. So that was the best C that I ever earned. And so it's true that certain people are privileged to have and tests and everything. But I did go to a predominantly white institute. I went to UAB. And so it was difficult going through, but I can tell you when I came out, I was one of the best nurses you could ever find. So, that meant a lot to me. I'm glad that I didn't cheat because some things that other people cheated on, I knew the answers. So yeah, it's a lot to it. Even with passing the boards, it's really a challenge. But you study and you get it, you got it. But the mentorship I think is 100% on tap because I didn't have a mentor per se, but I had good foundation in high school, but I didn't have like a mentor in college. There were a couple of Black um, people in other areas that, would talk to us, but nobody in nursing that, said, well, this is how you study this or this is how you do that. So I tried to share a lot, with the people that I had. So say hi. Say hello.
Thank you.
Okay.
Lorelai.
Take your pass out. They can't hear you. Say, I know how to spell my name. I know how to spell my name. How to spell it? F-O-R-E-R-E-I. Yeah. That's a pretty good.
Nice.
She said it by herself like that all the way. Yeah, that's a good girl. You smart. But
Nice.
anyway, yeah, so I think it means a lot to keep kids educated and keep them on tap all the time. No breaks. Asians don't take breaks. They go to school morning, noon, and night, and they come out on top too. So we can do the same.
Thank,
If
thank
I
you.
can say,
Mhm.
misunderstood. I did not understand that the conversation was having tests to cheat because, yeah, we didn't have that. We
Yeah.
had older tests, and best you to trust and believe the tests that we took were much harder than the first editions. We may have had a foundation to study upon, but to have actual tests, no. Yeah, we
Yeah,
didn't have.
I kind
Well,
of,
in my school at UAB, I know for a fact that a lot of the white girls had tests,
Wow.
and they were previous tests, from previous quarters and things like that. But the information was pretty much the same. So, a lot of them had the test from that quarter, that test. So I mean, and they showed it to you. They tried to share it with you, but hey, we scared. We didn't want to get kicked out of school. So no, I don't want to do that. But we had to study,
I,
really
I
hard.
I know that we have limited time here, and I'm just gonna just really quickly say that I agree with her, the things that she said, nursing school and all of that. Just very, we had anatomy and physiology that was just really a bear. And one of the classes that we just really couldn't get through, and so all of us were looking for tests or somebody or Jesus, somebody to come
Jesus.
out, yeah,
Right,
to
right.
help us.
Like Lord Jesus, if you
Yeah.
real. Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree. I was thinking about what Dr. Carissa had said. about her viewpoint of where she came from. HBCU, it was part of my study to compare the two between the HBCU view, right, and the predominantly white institution view. And from our view as, predominantly white, not having to, seen, Dr. Carissa obviously had people who really, really invested in who she was, right? And obviously, she saw these tests, and like with my lady who saw her test, she didn't have the actual test, right? She had something that would help her from previously, but like Dr. Chris said, she didn't have the actual test. But just something to help her along the way. And so I'm gonna just kind of end and say that, I agree kind of with everybody on this call just had such good information to share. And it all comes down, I think, to perspective and your, where kind of like where you went to school. Like I said, all the PWIs I went to, just not enough Black people there or people, period, that really cared about my success and being able to go forward. Had I been in an environment like Dr. Carissa maybe was, and I am so fortunate, like I said, to be teaching for Hampton, because I feel that. I feel what she's saying. I feel that they give them the tools that they need, and the tools are out there. Again, part of the hidden curriculum that I studied is we don't know about it. It's hidden from people who are in PWIs. We don't know. And if we don't seek, or we're not taught to seek, we don't ever gain the knowledge that are in the tools in our tool bag that we need to succeed. Whereas my HBCU students know I care about them. My other students that my PWIs know, but my HBCU students, they know. My HBCU students know, I'm coming to get you. I'm not going to let you fail, right? And so if there's a test, like Dr. Carissa said, if there's all these things out here, tools I can give you, like Course Hero and Quizlet and, other things like that have these tests, I'm going to make it available to you. Mentorship. Is it Miss Floyd? Mentorship. Yes. That we need to do. And I'm done because I don't want to keep you guys. I know my bedtime is creeping near, so I'm gonna let y'all.
Right. You sound like me. Listen, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. A list of topics that we're going to continue to talk about. We talked about women in STEM, and our conversation just grew and got greater. We're going to talk about pioneering women. We're going to talk about historical icons, women's rights, remarkable female authors, women in art, gender equality, women's health, women in leadership, and international perspective. So we have a rich list of topics to discuss throughout the month. Again, our conversations are on Sundays as well as Thursdays. Without further ado, what we'd like to do is just conclude our conversations with a nice mellow word. Sarah Bobby, do you mind giving us a nice mellow word of dismissal? And then we will, God willing, we'll see you guys back again on either Thursday and or Sunday. Sarah Bobby.
Father God, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for these professional people who are here to share and just love on us and show us that we can do all things through you. And we thank you for the education that's out there that you provided for us to be better people in this world. And we pray that when we get everything that we need, our tools, that we be able to show and help other people and give them tools as well. Lord, we thank you for blessing us and keep us, and we thank you for putting a hedge of protection around us. And we pray that you would keep us until we meet again. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. You guys have a great week. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night. Good night.
Night.